So I was wrong about the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Apparently, it looks like he might have actually been murdered. And our culture around children specifically is, let's just say, deeply, deeply messed up. The Olympics doesn't always bring out the best in people, as we see some of the worst from some of them. And Trump is finally doing something about Iran, or at least is capable of doing something about Iran. And as a special treat today, since I'm coming in so late, I'm actually going to do something kind of fun and see if we can indict Jeffrey Epstein for his own suicide. Let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome to the Ripple Effect. So first off, it does seem like Trump and the military are finally capable of actually doing something in Iran. And if you look at it, there's a lot of aircraft, specialized aircraft that's in the area that has been staged in the area, especially in a lot of the air bases and stuff. And it's designed for this specific type of deployment for regime change and so on. So it definitely seems like something's probably going to happen. And what's crazy is the Iranians are the government. And again, I say it's crazy, but it's not necessarily crazy. So the Iranian government is basically just mouthing off and saying they don't care. And then there's nothing that Trump can do. They're basically trying to call his bluff. The problem is they have to do that because they're a dictatorship. The moment you say we're negotiating, it's the same thing with North Korea. They can't say those things because it basically says that they don't have a right or they don't have a position that they're holding, right? And so they have to say these crazy things to maintain power. But the problem is they're not going to be able to maintain power this way. That's not going to happen. And so it seems like we are now ready and capable of doing it. And I can understand Trump's hesitancy in wanting to wait until we had all of the pieces in place because it prevents our servicemen from suffering. And it's sad because there's so many of the Iranians that have been killed. And it's hard to believe, but it's been almost a month since Trump told them originally to hold on, help us on its way. Now, even though the Olympics, in my opinion, are incredibly fun, I know a lot of people, surprisingly, a lot of people get all, uptight about the Olympics. But the weird part about the Olympics is that for some reason, and especially recently, has become more and more a opportunity for people to throw a fit. And it used to be this wonderful thing that would tie us together as a country where no matter what you were, how you were, whatever, what you believed, it didn't matter. We came together for the Olympics, for our country, for the country that even though it's not perfect in so many ways, we came together. But that's not how it went. Because now all these Olympians want to use it for a political platform to say whatever they want. And the sad part is that they're just as stupid as all of the celebrities who say stupid stuff. So, hey, I guess they're in that company. But no surprise, right? But a guy by the name of Hunter Hess said that he, quote, only represents the part of America he wants. So there's parts of America that he doesn't represent, okay? No. Just no. No, when you go to the Olympics, you're not representing yourself, okay? You're representing, you may win gold medals, and you may get to get a medal count, but who does that medal count for? It counts for America. Because you're going there with that American flag on your arm because you're American. You're not representing any other country. You're not representing any other ideals. It's the combat of nations, the peaceful, albeit combat of nations. But you are representing everything America is. And how dare you, with your stupidity, think that you get to individualize yourself and get to pull yourself out and say, well, I'm representing whatever I want to. No. You love the fame and all the glory of being at the Olympics. That comes because you have been selected by our country to represent us. If you don't want to represent us, then go back. There's plenty of people who would step in your way. And I'd rather have someone who didn't do as good as you, which I didn't even look to see if he won any medals, but as good as you, okay? Maybe they're not as good, but if they go in with the right heart, they can do more. Because that's what it's about. It's about sacrificing for your country. And it's kind of weird now that we've gotten to this stage when you just compare yourself to a young female gymnast. And I remember this because I remember seeing this a while ago. That someone was bringing this up, and this is long before this idiot started talking. What her name was, Carrie Strug. This was in 1996, and she had either like a broken or sprained or horribly damaged ankle, and they had told her if she went to do her little jump thing, I forget what it's called, vaulting, that she was more than likely, if she made a mistake, to do permanent damage to her body. And extreme pain, suffering. But the choice was, if she didn't do it, Russia was going to get the gold medal. And she said, I will not let that happen. And she went out there and stuck the landing, and it's just an inspirational story to all of us because she knew it mattered that she represented America, that she represented America. And she did it for America, not for herself, but for America. When you put that flag on your shoulder, you represent America. You don't get to tell us who or what you don't represent. Now, like I'd mentioned in the intro, our culture around children has gotten to a point where it's a horrific scene, basically out of like a Chainsaw Massacre kind of film, okay? It is wild. And I've never watched any, but I've seen, the joking clips about it. Now, in this situation, the problem is that the ones getting massacred, so to speak, of course, the algorithm's going to love that, are the children, okay? Are the children, because of these crazy psychos. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Super Bowl. So I didn't watch it. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I wasn't really involved in any of the teams, and I'm a Ravens fan, so my team wasn't in there. But they had the halftime show with, quote, Bad Bunny. And it was very uninspiring, to be honest. I saw some clips from it, and there's pop music that appeals to you and rap music that appeals to you and all that stuff, but nothing he was doing even remotely sounded interesting. And that was objectively not even remotely interesting. And you can see the crowd, they're like all out there, and they have a film of this. There's like a few drunk people kind of like, should we dance? I'm kind of confused here. And I'm not even going to go into what he was doing, but he's a very, very horrific person. A very horrific person who likes to be androgynous, who likes to be sexually deviant, who likes wearing dresses and making things perverted, okay? And that's who they chose. But this is where the child thing comes in. So here's blasted on all the TVs where children can see it, right? Is this horrific person. And the next morning, a tweet gets put out by Elmo. Elmo, guys. From Sesame Street. Yes, Elmo. And he said that Bad Bunny did such a good job. In fact, it was so good, we should call him Good Bunny. Guys, who is Elmo for? Is Elmo for all the Hispanics listening to Bad Bunny? Is Elmo for all of the adults that are watching, men grind on men during his, Super Bowl? No, Elmo's for children. So Sesame Street, or whoever owns Elmo, thought it was a good idea for Elmo to advertise this fact that Bad Bunny was good. Well, that just creates curiosity in children. Again, I don't know what children are watching tweets, but who knows nowadays? But that tells you how sick these idiots are, and that they're after your children, and that they want your children to look into this stuff. They want your children perverted. And we're not making this up. That's them. That's Elmo. Elmo. Okay? Now, to the best topic, right? The most interesting and fun topic, which is Epstein, right? Everyone loves Epstein because there's so much depth here, right? Unfortunately, you guys were right. Some of you guys said that there was more stuff there than I thought there was, and you're right. I honestly couldn't believe that the government would release anything that was remotely interesting because, if Hillary Clinton can get away with, bleach bidding her drives, I can't imagine that after this long that anything would be in the details for the Jeffrey Epstein suicide, right? Well, I thought it'd be fun. Let's pretend we're in a court of law, and I'm doing this for a reason. Let's pretend we're in a court of law and we're trying to indict Jeffrey Epstein for his own suicide, right? And we're going to find out what evidence we have to prove that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. And of course, the algorithm's going to love this. All right, so there are several things that will need to be submitted as evidence, and several things that I think we can agree on as fact at this point, unless you're one of the really, really crazy ones. I think we can start off with the fact that for exhibit number one, evidence number one, Jeffrey Epstein's dead. So, that's a good case for, I guess, potential suicide is that he's dead. The other one is that we believe he was found hanging. So, okay, that's another good. Circumstantial, I understand, but it's good. Well, let's get into what exactly we mean by hung, because here's where it starts to get a little dicey. And this is where the evidence starts to fall apart a little bit in our indictment of him for his own suicide. Apparently, the person who helped get him down doesn't remember what he was hanging by, or what it looked like, or what material it was made out of. And the person who was standing at the doorway watching the person get him down also doesn't remember seeing a noose, doesn't remember what he was hanging by, or anything like that. Also, they didn't define what getting him down was. What do you mean get him down if he's not hanging by something? And I would think that if you come in to see a very famous prisoner dying and dead, you'd kind of care to see what he's hanging by. You think that'd be frozen in your memory. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of dead bodies in my life, but I mean, when you see a dead body, you kind of remember it. I have a memory of an open casket funeral from when I was like 7, okay? And I remember in vivid detail what it looks like. And the details of that. But you're telling me these people can't remember anything? Well, it gets worse, all right? So they can't remember the noose. So that's a problem. That would be, again, an issue in us indicting him for his own suicide. Also, here's another one. Why is it that they have not been able to, they've confirmed rather, that a noose was found at the scene. They've confirmed that the noose found at the scene was definitively not used in hanging him. Okay, if you're trying to indict Jeffrey Epstein for his own suicide, and you submit a noose in a situation where someone's been hanged, but it wasn't used, it would kind of make you look like a fool, wouldn't it? Like, who would submit a noose that someone did not actually use as evidence for the fact that they hung themselves? Okay, so it was not used, all right? And then even crazier in the conviction of Jeffrey Epstein for his own suicide is the fact that now they're showing out that one of the coroners in the postmortem after the analysis says, no, the injuries do not look like, and we've heard this before, so it's not nothing terribly new, that the injuries do not look like hanging, but rather very, very much look conclusively like someone who was strangled. So let's put this together. Do we even have any evidence to prove that he did this? If now they're saying, and another thing they found was apparently now they have a picture of someone wearing an orange jumpsuit, it looks like, going into the area where Jeffrey Epstein was during the time that he died. Pam Bondi can't get her head screwed on straight, and so couldn't get any of the timing correct when it came to any of the video evidence. Yes, this is the full video evidence. No, there's a minute missing. No, the minute isn't missing. We put it back. No, this is all chopped up and edited. No, it's not. Yes, it is. And they cannot figure out what they're actually doing. So we have the two people that saw him hanging, supposedly saw him hanging, have no idea what he was hanging by, what it looked like, or if it was a noose at all. A noose was found, but the noose itself was conclusively determined not to have been what he was hung by. And the coroner for sure believes that he was not. Now again, this is one of a few coroners. I'll be honest. It was one of a few coroners. So some of the coroners did look at it and say, it looks like he hung himself. But one coroner says, no, obviously he did not. And I would like to know why he's saying this, but he said it looks very much like he was strangled. I'm sorry. I don't think we can indict him. I don't think we can indict him on his own suicide. At this point, I'm not a big conspiracy nut, but it kind of looks like he got murdered. There's too much weirdness going on here. And I think the most telling thing and the most interesting thing would be to find out who did it. Because if you find out who did it, then it'll tell you who he worked for. Because everyone's like, he worked for this and he worked for this. And on a separate note, apparently the Stormer government in UK is really going to be suffering right now because they are heavily associated with Epstein after Epstein was convicted for a lot of things that he was doing. So we've got some wild stuff going on right now, and there's a lot of information coming on, so we got to stay on top of it. We've got to be aware to protect our children. We got to understand what kind of threats are coming at us, like Elmo saying Bad Bunny is a good thing. We need to understand that when we look at the Olympics, we like to see it as an individualized thing of our country versus other countries, and give them the benefit of the doubt. If someone going to the Olympics is an absolute jerk idiot, but they don't say anything while they're there representing us, give them the benefit of the doubt and cheer them on. Okay? Let's do that. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and then cheer them on. And I hope something happens in Iran to give them the freedom that they need. Thank you so much for watching The Ripple Effect. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel, and you guys are an awesome audience. Thank you so much.